Welcome to the Compliance Perspectives Podcast. I'm Adam Turtletop from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and Healthcare Compliance Association. Joining us today from Burbank, California is Katie Roemer. Katie is Vice President, Compliance and Privacy Officer at Alta Hospital Systems. And today we're going to be talking about an article she wrote for the October 2025 issue of Compliance Today magazine. It's entitled Neurodiversity as a Compliance Asset. Katie, thanks for submitting the article. Thanks for joining us today. We've had a few people in the past talk about how we work with and respect the needs of the neurodivergent. In your article, you argued that neurodiversity is actually an asset for compliance teams. Can you give us some examples?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. When I was researching neurodiversity and understanding individuals who identify as neurodivergent, a lot of the common patterns that I saw were that, people who have different, um, their brains function in a different way experience things that tend to be different than the norm. So these are people who excel at pattern recognition and system level thinking. And these are very common attributes that one would need in a compliance program. And then if you add to that creative problem solving, intuitive reasoning, and the ability to identify root causes are the very skills that a compliance program looks for in the ability to detect, prevent, and respond to risk.
Thanks. That's very illuminating. Now, you also point out that recognizing the needs of the neurodivergent can help everyone. Can you tell us how that would work, say, in training?
Training is a good way to look at it. When I think of education and training, my memory tends to jump right back to the most dense PowerPoint I've ever seen that is just full of a lot of font that gets smaller and smaller with the more information on it. It's usually has a colorful background and the font might have a color to it as well and might be a more obscure font. Generally, PowerPoints and other visual presentations look nice to look at. But if you think about somebody perceiving information differently, trying to understand what they're supposed to glean from a busy, dense PowerPoint, it's a good way to understand how to make things friendly to people of all cognitive types, of everybody whose brains function in diverse or normative ways. Um, some ways to do that is to provide different formats. Don't rely on PowerPoint or visual representation for education and training. Sometimes verbal works better, written or audio. I know myself, I learn best through audio books or YouTube videos or listening, and then I talk out loud a lot to myself to understand a concept versus reading or having people lecture at me. So by providing these different formats, it helps everybody, not just neurodivergent or neurodiverse individuals. Some other things that we can do is to break down sections into more manageable sections, having clear summaries, giving people an idea of what's coming. This training will last for X amount of time. You will have a break in between. We're going to provide this information and we're going to stay on our schedule. And then finally, some of the good feedback that I found in my research is interacting with the audience, not only letting them know that there's going to be a break or that we have an agenda or things like that, but to let them know this is a time when you need to really pay attention, or you might want to write down this bit of information. I know I provide a lot of compliance, fraud, waste, and abuse training and education, and it's hard for people to absorb a lot of regulations being given to them all at once. So I try to tell my people that what I need you to take away from this are these key points, and then I'm going to dive into the information a little deeper, just to let people not feel so overwhelmed with the information that they might be receiving.
That's good advice for everyone. I know certainly as I've gotten older, I'm less able to see, say, on a PowerPoint screen, smaller fonts, lighter colors, and so forth. So, talk to us in this context about opening the lines of communications.
A term I came across in my research is psychological safety. Psychological safety creates environments where all people, have the freedom to speak up with their thoughts, ideas, and feelings without having any fear of negative consequences. I've also learned in my research and talking to people who are neurodiverse or identify as neurodivergent individuals is that they have a lot of experience of fearing consequences when they're sharing their thoughts, ideas, or opinions. Maybe they don't feel like their voice has been heard. Um, by keeping teams and workspaces psychologically safe, it allows all staff, not just the neurodiverse or neurodivergent, to be able to speak up, ask clarifying questions, provide a different perspective, um, give suggestions, and know that what they're saying is being communicated in a space where it'll be received and acknowledged, and they won't have to worry about anybody treating them differently or giving them negative feedback or ignoring them or making them feel otherwise as if their voices don't count.
More great general advice. Now, let's talk about auditing and monitoring. You mentioned that the neurodiverse are very good at pattern recognition. Are there other assets that they bring?
Yes, there's this great pattern of attention that's often associated with ADHD, and it's called hyperfocused. Hyperfocus is an intense interest in a topic, so much so that the person who is experiencing it tends to forget or they're able to tune out what is happening around them. And it's not something that just pertains to ADHD. It could be anybody who is focusing on a project or really into a creative endeavor or anything that somebody is doing and they're hyperly focused on it. But if you take that same concept and you apply it to auditing and monitoring, it really allows a person to turn off, I refer to them as horse blinders, put your horse blinders on and turn off all that extra noise and focus on the scope of um, the audit trail, things of that nature, any anomalies or deviations that pop up that maybe somebody who isn't hyper focused wouldn't see. And then, of course, we did talk about pattern detection, root cause analysis, system level thinking, things of that nature. And these are generally regular traits and characteristics that people who are neurodiverse experience.
So, finally, can you talk to us a little bit about corrective actions?
Yes. One of the other consistencies I came across in my research was the importance of incorporating people of all types of cognitive functioning in aspects of the team in the workplace. And for corrective action, this is a really great place to bring an example because somebody who is neurodiverse or identifies as a neurodivergent individual is going to see the faults or the errors in a different way than somebody who is normative in their cognition. So they might bring in a perspective that sees a gap that somebody else wouldn't see, or again, they can see the larger picture and oftentimes how the different areas within work in the system, all of the different wheels and processes and how they all relate to the overall concept. So by bringing in diversity in thinking styles, this can help fix the immediate issues and map the underlying process failures that may have allowed the gap to occur. And one way to ensure that people of all different types of cognitive function are brought to the table to work on corrective action plans is to adopt a leadership style that's referred to as adaptive leadership. The core idea of an adapted leadership mindset is to leverage diverse thinking styles that affect learning and change. And the best way of doing that is to play to the strengths of each team.
Well, Katie, thank you so much for sharing this. I think it's very important, for us in compliance, since we really are in the people business and shaping human behavior, to understand the range of the ways people think, both in the workforce and as well as within our own team, and the opportunities that are out there for us to improve them. So thank you again for joining us and sharing these insights. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I'm Adam Turtletaub from SCCE and HCCA. I hope we're able to expand your compliance perspective.